Welcome to the At Mac Theater podcast. You say Brahma, we say Brahma. Brahma Drama. Thanks for tuning in to At Mac Theater's podcast, Brahma Drama. For this episode, we're launching our scary, strange, and unusual stories called Who's There? Our actors from Junior Varsity and Varsity theater classes worked hard to perform a few tales that are sure to keep you on the edge of your seat.
A street lamp. Something you see every day. Something so completely ordinary, you don't notice it. We walk past them all the time, not caring if they're there or not. The only time we actually seem to recognize them is when night falls upon us, and we are all alone.
Sometimes I think it was a dream. I used to think it was a dream, but the more I think about it, the more I remember it, the less I'm so sure about that. It was maybe 5 years ago. I was fed up with what was happening at home, parents constantly fighting and stuff. So I slid out my window, got on my bike, and I started riding. I didn't know where I was going to or who I was going to. I just knew I wanted to leave where I was. So, with the tears streaming down my eyes, I just kept going. I had been riding for what felt like forever when I finally looked up and realized it didn't look like I had gone anywhere. And I looked around and saw as this great feeling of dread came upon me. It was almost pitch black. And, that's extremely uncommon. I live in a suburbs. There were no lights on in the houses. There was no light on the horizon. The moon wasn't up. And that's when I looked forward. Coming from the one street lamp on our street, this cone of light, and standing in that circle that it made on the ground was this dark silhouette of a very tall man. No, I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was looking at me, staring right into my eyes. And there was a little voice in the back of my head that was screaming for me to turn back. That anything was better than this. But I just couldn't stop. I kept going. And as I got closer, the dread was getting stronger. I finally got myself to stop, just maybe 10 feet from him. At that distance, even with the bright light on, I should have seen some detail, but he was still a silhouette. Maybe 7 feet tall. He was towering above me, almost as tall as a street lamp. I stared at him. I stared into his face. That's just when it clicked. I had to get out of there. I turned around and I just teared it down the street. This time there was no deep darkness around me. I noticed there were lights on the houses, and the moon was in the sky. The sky was filled with stars. I looked behind me, and I looked at where the street lamp's light came down. There was no one there. Finally got home. I didn't want to go into the dark garage, so I just slipped the bike on the side of the house and jumped in through my window. And I just couldn't go to sleep. I sat there staring up kept my light on, but I guess eventually exhaustion won, and I passed out. But then I felt this great sense of dread, and I opened my eyes. It was dark in my room. I thought I'd turn the light on. I did turn the light on. The power got on or something? I noticed just how dark it was in here. I couldn't even see my hands. I turned around and I looked through the window. And in the moon's light was the silhouette of a very tall man.
Thank you for taking the time to listen, and remember not to go after dark when the sun goes down and the lamps are turned on.
Thank you for that nightmare fuel, Riley. Now for Shakira's story that's sure to keep me up for the next 5 days.
Welcome to the Mac Drama Podcast. I hope everyone is feeling spooky because today's theme is spooky stories. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing and listening to a spooky story from one of our very own Mac Theater students. So, here's Shakira with Blood on the Walls.
When I was a kid, weird and almost unnatural things always happened to me around the house. Doors slamming unexpectedly, things falling or moving out of place. Sometimes I would even see dark figures walking around my room. Sometimes they would talk. Yet my mom always made an excuse for it. It's just the wind. Stop trying to scare your brother, she would say. But what if everything that was happening was real, you know? Like, what if those tall figures could really talk? Or what if I was telling the truth? No one ever really believed me, so I started keeping it to myself. I never got too scared until I took a closer look at my room. One afternoon, I was coming home, by myself as always. My mom works and my brother has school later than I do. I went to hang up my jacket in my closet when I found blood spots on the door. I just cleaned it up and dismissed it, but it kept happening and with no explanation. These blood spots would show up randomly on my closet, on my door, and on my walls. I must have cut myself and didn't notice. Maybe it's just paint, I would tell myself. But no matter how many excuses I would make, it still never made sense, you know? Eventually, it came time to move out of my old apartment. While I was cleaning out my room for the last time, picking up trash, vacuuming, spraying down the windowsills, and wiping down the doors, I looked up at the hinges of my room. I stopped and I lost my breath. There was tons of dried blood all along the side of the door. There was no excuses, no explanation. I quickly threw away the cleaning wipes and I took the trash bags out of my room. I left that apartment as fast as I could and never went back. I left the blood on the hinges. I wasn't going to touch it, that's for sure. And boy, was I glad I didn't have to spend another night in that place. In my head, I was thinking, finally, a new start. None of this crazy stuff would happen anymore, but little did I know that wasn't the end, but only the beginning.
Wow, Shakira, thank you for sharing. And everyone, look out for blood on your walls.
Thanks for tuning in to the Brahma Drama Podcast. We hope you enjoyed one of our first episodes in the series titled Who's There?, delivering all things spooky, strange, and unusual. Shout out to the Junior Varsity and Varsity students that created our first story, The Street Lamp Man: Jade, Alyssa, Alex, Riley, Damien, Jared, and Sanagi. And our second story was created by Jesse, Charis, Halie, Jocelyn, Shakira, Jacob, Michael, and Sarah. This episode was produced by 6th Period Text technicians Hannah, Rachel, and Monserrat. Thank you to our MacArthur High School administration and NEISD for their listener support, and a big shout out to all of our listeners. We can't do this without you. Did you like what you heard? Help us out. Tell other people about what you're doing by following us on Instagram at Mac Theater for more podcast episode releases. That's at MACTHEATRE. And as always, you say Brahma, we say Brahma. Go Brahma Drama. Thanks for tuning in to the at Mac Theater podcast, Brahma Drama. This has been your favorite technician host, Ray Dre. And remember, even during the 2020 pandemic, we're in this together. We are Mac. Brahma Drama, out.